1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get pumped, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in they Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters gon' move. Whatever click you choose, you better
Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down! Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. Yeah, that's me gassing right there on that intro. And if you want to get that song, it's available on a 10-song EP. You can get it on digital download directly from me. Hit me up on my email, 16tolifemusic@gmail.com, or hit me up on Instagram at 16tolife, all one word, 16DALIFE, Cash App, PayPal, Zelle, me $20, and I'm going to get it to you ASAP. So today, my video, I'm going to be discussing the Asian car, or sometimes people in prison call it the other car. And why they sometimes refer to it as the other car is because it is when you ride with something other than the three main groups in prison. And those three main groups, of course, being Mexicans, blacks, and whites. Now, in the Asian car, you're going to find Pacific Islanders, Samoans, Tongans, and then, of course, you're going to also have Asians, Cambodians, Filipinos, Vietnamese, Chinese, so on and so forth. Every now and then you may find a Native American riding with the other car, but at least in my experience, I haven't seen that much. Now, a lot of people may not know about the Asians in California. You'll have Crip gangs on the streets, you'll have blood gangs on the streets, and then you'll have some Asians who are in Asian gangs on the street. But when they come to prison, they put all that stuff to the side and they just push under one collective, which of course is going to make them more unified, because in prison, a lot of times on most yards, the Asian car is going to be the smallest car, literally and sometimes figuratively. So of course, by them coming together, definitely makes them stronger, and it definitely keeps them, in a position to where they can keep each other safe. Do not get it twisted. The Asians are real live gangsters. They're definitely with the business, and a lot of times the ones I ran across were in prison for a lot of vicious, violent stuff. And in prison, they push the same type of line as the other cars. They check paperwork. They don't have no trash in their car. If they get somebody on the yard that they feel is not desirable on the yard and he's from the Asian car, they definitely gonna get cracking and handle their business. Now, one of the first things that I noticed about the Asian car when I got to prison is their unity. Their unity seems genuine, and I noticed it was the same vibe with them throughout my whole entire time, regardless of whatever prison that I was in. That genuine love for the people who function inside that car was there, So anytime they happened to go to the store, they made sure the other Asians and other people in their car, if they needed something, they would get them what they need. They check on their homies. They made sure they had the things that made doing prison time a little more easier, whether it was food, whether it was, hygiene products, whether it was clothes or whatever, man. And like I said, I noticed this regardless of what prison that I was in. Now, these California prisons, of course, they're segregated among race. So most prisons will have 2 day rooms, and on one side of the day room you're going to have the Mexicans and you're going to have the whites, and they share the same phones, they share the same showers, the same tables, they play basketball and handball together, so on and so forth. And then on the other side of the day room you have the blacks and you have the Asians, and it's the same for us. We share phones, showers, basketball with them, play cards, all that type of stuff. So I got to observe them and watch them pretty much, and just you get cool with them and stuff. And to me, a lot of them, a lot of them are, you will find in the same communities that you will find blacks, and so they real cool, laid back, down to earth. Do not get it twisted though. Like I said, they are definitely with the business right now. One thing that I noticed and I liked about them is it didn't seem to have you didn't have as much treachery and infighting in the Asian car as you had with the other cars. In my opinion, a person doing time with the Asian car, you were allowed to be more of your own man, but still function within the collective. And so an example is, you have a lot of these other cars, like say for instance, a dude is, you making moves in prison. You may be doing things in prison to enhance your financial situation on an illegal level, right? And so it's well known that in a lot of these other cars, man, you may have to kick a percentage to certain individuals, or sometimes I've seen too where if you having a bag in prison and you doing what you're doing, sometimes people from your same car will push up on you and feel that you're not contributing enough, you're not blessing the homies enough, and they'll just basically take your stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I have seen cars press on members of their own cars for no apparent reason outside of greed, and so that's just something that I never seen. Something that I never seen with the Asians. They just was, they seemed to be cool, and like I said, they had a genuine love for those who ran inside that Asian car. And like I say, do not get it twisted, man. The Asians were definitely with the business. I remember a time in Ironwood where a homie, John, he happened to make a bet with an Asian about if the Lakers was gonna make the playoffs or not. Now, the Asian that my homie made the bet with, maybe 2 or 3 months later, he comes and gets at my homie and lets him know that, hey man, something that's unrelated and out of my control is I'm gonna be getting transferred to another prison. I'm moving to another prison, man. So I gotta go, whatever. So at that time, it did not appear as if the Lakers was gonna make the playoffs. And so my homie is pressing the issue like he wants to be paid, right? So he gets at one of their people, and they tell him, well, go holler at him, because the agent is refusing to pay. He's saying that, man, it's not, it's still another month or 2 left, so anything could transpire, and they could make the playoffs. And so, long story short, man, the homie goes over there thinking he got permission to fire on one of these dudes, and he fire on the dude, and and the Asians jump up and they get on his helmet, boop, pop, beep, pop, and some of the homies, we run over there and we get cracking, so on and so forth. But I said all that to say that, man, all the Asians on that yard, they flew over there, they got cracking, they was participating, and they was with the business, and I seen a few other times, man, where the Asians had to put in some serious work on their people. So the Asians, man, definitely are with the business. And then another thing that I liked, and this goes for all cars, right? You have members of all cars in prisons, black, whites, Mexicans. You have dudes who walk around just they extra out. They think they too tough. They think they hard. Some dudes you be like, man, when you see him, like, man, I can't wait for something to jump off with us and them. I'm going to try to get him. And that dude think he is too tough. Well, me, I never saw any Asians like that. Now, I'm not saying that you didn't have any who thought they were tough, but I never really saw none. They was all cool, laid back, down to earth, and like I say, they just was, it seemed like they was genuine people, right? And then I never ran across any Asians that was also, doing bad business. A lot of times in prison, that is the basis for a lot of these different melees that break out between either groups of the same race, or a race riot with opposing races, because of shady business, dudes doing scandalous, dudes just trying to get over, right? And the bad thing about trying to get over in prison is, especially in California, due to the majority of people in California, even if they don't gang bang, they are rolling with a certain collective in prison. So when you get over and you try to be slick, once that comes out, then you are involving your people, and so that's the thing about the Asians, that it seemed like to me is they definitely try to do things with their homies in mind, and I'm, like I say once again, I'm not saying that they never didn't do anything slick. I'm saying that it was, in my experience, I never saw nothing like that. I had a lot of Asian partners when I was locked up in prison, man. I used to play dominoes with, basketball with, and they all was cool and stuff. So that's one thing that I liked about them. I also can say, I think maybe a close second to the Asians is the Paisas. The Paisas seemed pretty cool too, pretty down to earth, right? But due to the fact that I didn't function with the Paisas or function, in an area or on the same side of the day room as I did with the Asians, I didn't necessarily, you don't necessarily see as much, Sometimes though, by the Asians being on the same side of the day room as us, anytime they did have an issue or if there's something going on, you gonna get wind of it just due to the fact that we function on the same side of the day room. And also there's also that courtesy head up that you have respective cars give other cars and give other races if something is going to happen. So in the event the Asians did have to handle their business, they may come and say to, somebody black or whatever, hey man, listen, at 1:30, we gotta whoop our homeboy and get him up off the yard or stab our homeboy or whatever. And so we're going to give y'all a heads up to let y'all know we're going to be over here or whatever. Or when you guys see a commotion going on, you'll know what's going on. And then of course that courtesy head up is then passed to all the different races, so everybody will know, okay, this is what's going to be going on at that time. So a person won't mistake maybe his homie over there getting jumped and run over there, and then it turns into a bigger issue, man. And then another thing I think that's important to add too, a lot of times, especially with the blacks, when we locked up, because with the blacks, maybe if something jumps off, maybe an incident between one Crip faction and another Crip faction, by the administration knowing that there's so many different entities inside the blacks that they'll just lock all the blacks down. Sometimes it'll be some Crip on Crip stuff and they'll lock the Bloods and stuff down too. So now all the blacks is locked down, and then so while we're on lockdown, the Asians are still programming. And so a lot of times, they'll come to the cells. Hey man, you guys need anything? You need some water? You need some soups? They check on us as they do with a lot of other groups as well, when they're locked down. So the thing is, even though the Asians may not function on the side of the Mexicans and the whites, even though when they go locked down, sometimes, the Asians is going to look out for them, because at the end of the day, in situations like that, then it's more like a convict thing, because you can empathize with a person being locked up in your cell, being locked up in his cell, not able to get the things that he needs to make doing prison a little easier. Whether it's, hey, can you go over here and get some coffee for my homie? Can you go over here and get some cigarettes for my homie? Or, hey, can you pass this magazine? Whatever's needed, right? And so, like I said, man, just sitting back, thinking about all this stuff and evaluating it, to me, it definitely seemed the Asian was the coolest car to be with in terms of, just being able to do your time, being able to program and not caught up in a lot of BS, because we know that, in prison, a lot of times for a lot of different reasons, you'll have people who push with a certain collective prey on members of that same collective, what are basically for some unfair type stuff, and sometimes jealousy, sometimes greed, right? But like I said, for the most part, I never seen any of that at all in terms of the Asian car, man. So, that's just my opinion. You may have some people who have different opinions or whatever, but I just think that for those reasons that I listed, man, if you gonna do time, the Asian car was the best car in prison to do time in. Anyway, man, you already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to Life. Resume normal program.